It means a lot to see all my friends, all my parents' friends, all my in-laws' friends, all my grandparents-in-laws' friends, everyone. It really means a lot that we're all celebrating together and you're sharing in the simcha. I want to thank, first and foremost, my parents, because I wouldn't be here today without them. And I don't know how many of you know, my parents were actually in Vancouver this past week. They went Wednesday, and they landed Wednesday night and came back Friday, specifically to be here for the Shalom Zachar and to be here. And they changed their whole trip, and I really appreciate it. And I can't even thank them for what they've done for me in my life and where they've gotten me. And I'm very excited to be able to share my son with them moving forward. I also want to thank my in-laws. First off, my parents were in Vancouver, so they organized this whole bris. And they have been, since the baby, and since really I've joined the family, they've always asked me, whatever you need, I'm there, whatever. They totally are on team Ariel and Avital, 1,000%. And it's really is a pleasure to be part of the family. And I'm very excited to be sharing Asher Zev with them as well. I want to thank all the extended grandparents also for being here, and I think it's a big honor and a big schlos that there's a bunch of great grandparents, many. I also want to thank my wife, Avital, who I don't know how many of you know how much she doesn't look after herself so much because she's just looking after everyone else around her. There was a night this week when Avital slept 2 hours the night before, so I took the baby and I sent her upstairs and to take a nap. And she came down and she's like, I couldn't leave him. I'm like, what does that mean you couldn't leave him? You slept 2 hours, leave him. And no, she took him back upstairs. She slept next to him. Yeah, okay, good luck with that. All the way through, she's pregnancy is the craziest thing to me in the world, but all the way through, she's asking me how I'm doing. How are you doing, Ariel? How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing physically? How are you doing? That's she totally forgot about herself. I'm a little confused. But really, she is my style, and she really has completed my life, and I'm very excited to have a beautiful baby with her. Lastly, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I want to thank Kadosh Baruch Hu because this pregnancy has seen its ups and downs. We were in the hospital for a little bit, here and there, and Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us a baby with bris on time. Beautiful baby. He's doing amazing, I think, right now, hopefully. And I can't express enough gratitude to Kadosh Baruch Hu for that. So 8 days ago today, my son Asher Zev was born. And this was a few hours after the start of Shavuos, which means that 8 days ago today we also celebrated Klal Yisrael receiving the Asher Zev. Now, something notable about the Asher Zev is the fact that bris milah isn't included in it. Why not? I mean, I'll explain to you why maybe it should be. Because Avram Avinu wasn't called Tamim, Avram Avinu. He wasn't called Tamim. And when he wasn't Zohar in his Chelek and Olam Haba or Olam Haza until he completed the mitzvah of bris milah, as we see in the Gemara in the Nedarim. It's also mashma from the Gemara in Eruvin on New Testament Aleph that even if you were Mekayim the whole Torah, without a bris, you're not recognized as a Yid. So with the clear importance of bris milah, why is it not included in the Asher Zev? When Shabbos is, and Shabbos milah is Docha Shabbos, right? So why, bris milah seems to have this utmost importance to being a true Yid. So taking it even further, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself pretty much showed up, he appeared to Avram Avinu, and he told him the importance of bris milah, and he was the Shoresh HaNeshamos for future Doros. So it seems to be like everyone's on the same page of how important it is. How did it not make it into the Asher Zev? So we find that mitzvahs are split into two categories. There's Lavin and Aseis. Or you can split them up into Sur Meirav Asei Tov. Worse than most Lavin, just as a background, are bad midos, which the Torah doesn't discuss. The Torah doesn't really discuss midos, Pirkei Avos, whatever, but the Torah itself does not really discuss midos. This is because the Torah was given to Adam, and someone with bad midos is not necessarily considered on the level of an Adam. So that since they don't behave like a man, we don't discuss it in the Torah. We discuss it the Torah is for people who is for men. So that's why it doesn't discuss bad midos. So why? But there are lavin that are clearly bad midos. Lo sinaf, lo signo, lo sirtzach. Right? All these things are clearly bad. They clearly reduce a person to below a human nature. So the answer to this can be found in the Gemara Kedushin Daf Lamed Tes Amud Beis, where the Gemara says that if yeshiv adam below avar avero malav kilo asa mitzvah. Keeping this in mind is that all lavin are kumba asay, like asays themselves. What does that mean? Because every single avera that you do, every single lav that you're doing, you have to overcome the Yetzer Hara that is associated with him pushing you doing the avera, and overcoming that Yetzer Hara is considered a kumba asay. Which, as we see this in Parshas Ekev, when it says umaltem es orlas levavchem, where the word umaltem, meaning literally mila, whatever you should cut off, is in a lashon of kumba asay of the Yetzer Hara, which is orlas levavchem, right? So it's an active thing of pushing away the bad. So these are discussed in the Torah, and even the Aseret Dibros. But mila is a different whole. Mila is a totally different thing. Rabbi Avram Meizes answers that Mila is different from all other mitzvahs in the Torah. Why? The Yetzer Hara doesn't have a grasp on this mitzvah. This is demonstrated by the many people who have very little affiliation to anything it says in the Torah and don't do any mitzvahs but this one. The mitzvah of Mila is a tikkun of Milos Ros that aren't explained in the Torah, but it is not a direct kumba asay, so it's not discussed in the Aseret Dibros. The Ramban, it takes this idea further and explains that a bris weakens a person's taiva for ra for the rest of his life. This could also help answer the famous kasha that Tornus Rufus asked Rabbi Kiva on the mitzvah of bris milah about how can we change the body HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. He gave us a body, and now you're going to change it and you think you're making it better? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a body. So Rabbi Kiva answered back that what's better, wheat, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, or bread that man made? And obviously, bread, what are you going to do with wheat? You can't eat wheat. Obviously, a loaf of bread is the elevated form. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us wheat, and we elevate it and turn it into bread, which happens to be very appropriate just for Asher Zev, because we went from the Korban Omer of Pesach and went to Korban Mincha of Shavuos, which is a loaf of bread. So it does create a physical mum of bris milah for shleima. So the guf has a mum, but for shleimas hanefesh, the guf needs to go through this to properly serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That me and Ariel could do this today for Asher Zev is an extremely powerful and joyous occasion that maybe I didn't understand before I read this Torah, and we're so happy we could share with all of you in this simcha. As many of you know, over the course of this pregnancy, the Bienstock family lost two amazing pillars of the family. Throughout the years, I've seen many families, and a lot of them have this ancestral figure that everyone's super respectful of, and everyone's always asking questions. The Bienstocks, I think, had two. And unfortunately, this past year, we lost both of them, and both of them knew about that Avital was pregnant. I don't know if they knew it was a boy, but I think it gave them a certain amount of nechama near the end of their life. The first name that Asher Zev has is Asher, who was just after Opa, Mr. Anshel Buxbaum. He was an unbelievable man, he really was. And when we were dating, Avital called me one day and she's like, we have to go meet my 95-year-old great-grandfather. I'm like, what? I haven't met your brothers, what? And she's like, no, you don't understand, you'll go meet him. So, we go in, I'm like, how is this gonna be? She's like, 10 minutes. Okay, 2 hours later, we leave. And he's honestly, I didn't even notice it was 2 hours. He's honestly he was a gem of a person. He lit up the room. He makes everyone feel comfortable. He was showing me pictures. The amount of nachas he had for his grandkids was unreal. My brother-in-law is quoted as saying, little Yoni, was quoted as saying that he's never not seen Opa with a smile. And for Asher Zev moving forward, that I hope takes on, and I think he's trying to smile already. I'm not sure. But the word Asher means happiness and fortune, and as a Shevet, Asher was extremely blessed and enjoyed what they were given. So I personally didn't know Mr. Buxbaum, Opa, very long, but for the few months I did know him, I feel blessed as a person to have known him. And I think everyone that knew him feels blessed to have known him as a person. And we're talking literally 8-year-olds to 90, 100-year-olds. We really feel blessed to have known him. And it's really special for our son to be named after him and share in his mazel. Saba, or Zev Bienstock, was a man who I want to emulate personally. I can't say so much for my son yet, but I hope my son will one day emulate. His understanding of Torah was unparalleled to anything I've ever seen. The first time me and Saba actually spoke, I offered him a chumash because he was listening to Torah without a chumash. So he looks at me, smiles, and he's like, and he just said the next pasuk. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know enough to hurt. There you go. That works. It wasn't gaivadik at all. It was really just like, okay, I'm good, like, you know. The two happiest times I saw Saba in the short few months that I got to know him was, the first one was at my wedding, when he was a very serious man, but these two times really showed me like what was important to him and who he was as a person. At my wedding, Saba was smiling the entire time. He was so happy to be surrounded by family, so happy for his granddaughter, and the smile on his face, I don't think you could take away for days. It really was magical. The second time was on Simchas Torah, when he was actually sitting during the kafos or whatever, but me and a friend went and danced with him, and besides making fun of my friend's bad Hebrew, which gave him a lot of nachas, he also, I've never seen him that happy on Simchas Torah. And the amount he loved Torah, and the amount he lived it, he really did, and it was really honestly something special. And I never heard him lane, and how much he showed through his laning how much he loved Torah, but I have heard many, many times that it was magical. Now, most people, or some people, might have said like, okay, you have two people and choose one. But we feel, or me and Ariel felt, that like you can look at it as half empty or half full. You can look at it as now each of them kind of are both in this one child, and therefore each of them kind of share it. Or you can look at it as half full, because both of them got along very, very well. They respected each other, from what I saw at least. From what I saw, they respected each other immensely. And their midos complement each other so well and would create just a beautiful, beautiful person. And having their two models in my son Asher Zev, I cannot ask for anyone else better, and I'm really so honored. And I hope he grows the Torah l'chubam mouse and Amen.